I'm Zach Barclay. Join me as I use a little bit of humor and a lot of bit of humanity to try to discover what it is that makes all people human. Whether it's Academy Award nominated screenwriter Joe Stillman.
Man, the importance of grace, on some level. You call it grace or serendipity or luck or, for me, it makes me think like we're not really quite alone as we think.
Actor Jorge Garcia from hit television show Lost.
In many ways, everything I'm doing for them. Working a job, I'm doing for them.
A renowned surgeon.
But I knew that there wasn't a safety net.
Often raw and very candid, these chats will delve into why all humans truly do have a story to tell. Those Who Do, the podcast explores people, their interests, their stories, and their lives. Available wherever you get your podcasted.
Our Weird World.
Welcome to Our Weird World. I'm your host, John Henson. And okay, well, I know already that the cat hates this podcast. He was just before I hit record. He was sitting at my feet. He was wanting attention. And then I started talking and then he just immediately left. So he's already tired of it. So that's great. But we are doing the 10th edition of the Weird Fun Bag today. It is back by popular demand. And by popular demand, I mean, I demanded it mostly because I have a lot of stories to tell you guys that don't really fit in a given episode. So the first Monday of the month, the Weird Fun Bag is going to return. 3 stories, as always, the stories of Audrey Santos, Lou Wooster, and Forest Fenn. But before we get back into that, all right, I gotta get something off my chest. I hate the healthcare system in this country. All right, if you've ever had a kid, you probably understand this. All right, got our hospital bill back from having a kid. Obviously not like it's June when you're listening to this. This happened probably like almost 9 months ago at this point. But it was like in total with everything at the hospital, with anesthesia, with circumcision, with all of it, every bill related to our child's birth. It was like over $40,000. Now, what they don't tell you is that, one, they don't give you itemized pricing for everything that you got. I know some people get it, but that's only if you don't have insurance. If they know beforehand that you have insurance, they don't bother. And the reason they do that is because the amount of, let's say, a dose of Tylenol, the amount that they would charge the insurance company for that dose of Tylenol is far greater than what they would charge you if you didn't have insurance. And I'm not talking like, oh, they just charge the insurance company $3 and then they charge an uninsured person 30 cents as they should. No. It's like $90 for like 2 capsules of Tylenol. All right. And that's what they charge. And that's the thing. And the hospitals do that because they know the insurance companies have a ton of money and they have to pay it. All right. So the hospitals are going to get as much money as they can. And you know why? Because they're a private company. And they can just do that. And then, based on how copays and all of that work, which I still don't understand. I still don't understand the difference between a copay and co-insurance and which one I'm paying every day. And it's been explained to me a billion times. This is scary, I handle benefits for my employer. I work with a broker every year to find a health plan that then our employees can enroll in. And I don't understand any of it, ever. I probably should. But I know that because it doesn't make sense. I know that I have a deductible, and my deductible is like $12,000. So if my knee explodes and I have to have surgery, I have to pay $12,000 of that before the insurance will then cover the rest of it. But then up until that point, insurance is also already covering like 50% on copay or coverage. Like, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense. And so the problem with all of that then is if you have a $40,000 health insurance bill, insurance doesn't pay all of that because of your deductibles or your copay. Anyway, in total, we still ended up having to pay like $7,000. All right. And here's what's great about Novant Health. And I will put Novant Health on blast here because Novant Health is the hospital that we went with. I don't care. What's funny, first of all, is that because medical care is now privatized and all of these, giant medical corporations have come in and made hospitals private. Like, I feel like when I was growing up, that wasn't really a thing as much, right? Like, every doctor's office and every hospital was just independently owned. And maybe they were part of a network, but it wasn't like Vidant Health or UNC Health or Novant Health or CMC Atrium Health. All that. There wasn't any of that. Why are my hospitals brands? I should not. Why are hospitals running ads and putting up billboards? We should all just know that hospitals are available to us. We shouldn't have to pick based on TV commercials or billboards or anything. That is so stupid. And then, anyway, that was a side tangent. Here's the thing about Novant Health that I was unaware of. I thought I would just be able to work with their finance person, their billing person, to set up a payment plan to get this medical debt paid off. No. Apparently, Novant Health has this policy where if you do not pay off your medical bill in 90 days, regardless of you can, and they have like 3 payment plan options and none of them are any good. If you don't pay your medical bill off in 90 days, they just automatically send you to collections. And sure, medical debt does not affect your credit score for a year. So you still have a year to work with a collections agency or ignore a collections agency before then it starts affecting your credit. So here's the thing, guys. I make a survivable wage. All right. I say survivable because at this point I am living paycheck to paycheck, mostly because there's a baby. Babies are expensive, but then also the job that my wife has is part-time and really only goes towards paying her car payment and like some small other things. I am paying all of the bills related to us and our house. And so I am surviving. I'm not making money to where I just have $7,000 lying around in 90 days. I'm also not making enough money where I just have $7,000 lying around in a year. All right. I've got some savings, but they're savings. And based on how our cars have broken down, how my house falls apart, I need that money in emergency savings to stay in emergency savings so that we can keep living. It is preposterous that a medical institution just automatically sends you to collection after 90 days. And here's the thing, I talked to Novant. I was like, hey, here's what I can pay you right now. Can I do that? And they said no. And we're going to send you to collections in 90 days if you don't pay this. So Novant Health can suck a giant bag of dicks because because they're not hurting. They're like, because a collections agency is going to come in, they're going to purchase that debt from them, and they don't care. They still got their money, and they've made a wide profit margin because of it. And so, like, here's the thing, like, I'm not like fully advocating for like free universal health care for everybody. I mean, it seems like that's what works really well over in Europe in a lot of places. I don't know if it would work here just based on how big our population is, but what we've got right now does not work. All right. And so, we got to figure something out, because private healthcare and just private insurance, whether it's car insurance or any of that, like, it's so stupid. Like, if State Farm wasn't paying millions of dollars for Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Aaron Rodgers and whatever NBA star they're promoting, and, you know, then spending millions of dollars on ad placements every 3 commercial breaks, my premiums could be lowered, but it's not. I'm so burned out with the system. And you know this because you live in it too. But is anybody going to do anything about it other than complain? No. Because what do you have to do? Oh, you got to run for office and you got to play all these political games. And then by some small miracle, you make it all the way to Congress. You still have to deal with lobbyists. And if you don't play their game, they're not going to fund your reelection campaign. And then you don't get to do anything anyway. It's just, we need a full reset. Like, so sometimes maybe a full-on civil war and revolution, it's not the worst idea if we can get a full reset. Unfortunately, the people who are leading that civil war and revolution, that's not the side I want to be on. So I don't know. It just all sucks right now, and maybe it'll get better, but likely probably won't. Anyway, thanks for listening to that 10-minute rant on my own personal problems. If you're still listening, let's go ahead and get into the stories. You know what's great about all that? Like, this is the perfect episode to say all of that, because these are 3 pretty short stories, which you've probably realized now based on how much time is left in this episode. But our first story is of Lou Wooster, who was born in 1842 in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Her father died when she was only 9 years old, and her mother quickly remarried, because that's what you did in the South in the 1800s, because women can't live on their own. However, her new stepfather quickly abandoned the family and took what was left of the family's money with him. Her mother, unfortunately, died completely destitute a few years later. So that left Lou as an orphan, and as things tended to go with orphan teenage girls, Lou bounced around with some different relatives, got abused, attempted suicide, all the normal stuff. Her older sister soon became a prostitute to try to help the family survive. And seeing as that wasn't much worse than her current condition, Lou followed in her footsteps. And by 1873, Lou Wooster was one of the highest paid prostitutes in Birmingham, Alabama. She was killing it. Unfortunately, a massive cholera outbreak swept through Birmingham that year in 1873, which tends to make sex a little awkward. I don't know if you've ever had sex while you have cholera, but it's not a fun time. I mean, stuff's coming out of the wrong holes, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, you get it. Disgusting. So thousands of people during this cholera outbreak just left the city for good, but not Lou. Figuring that cholera wasn't nearly going to be the nastiest disease that she was going to catch in her lifetime, she stayed behind and started caring for the sick, feeding the hungry, and actually spent a lot of her time helping families make funeral arrangements for those who had died. Her work made such an impact on the city that, I mean, sure, it took over 130 years later, but in 2007, the University of Alabama at Birmingham School of Public Health created the Lou Wooster Public Health Award to recognize people and groups who are, quote, unconventional public health I can't even finish this. Unconventional public health heroes. Which, yeah, I guess a prostitute would be an unconventional hero in that regard. So, fun fact about Alabama, they have a public award named after a prostitute. So moving on here to Audrey Santos, where in August 9th, 1987, she was 3 years old, playing in the driveway of her with her brother Stephen at their home in Worcester, Massachusetts. Anyway, after a while, Stephen went inside and left Audrey out by herself, which is highly frowned upon in today's world. Not so much in the late 80s. People just used to let their kids just out all the time for, unsupervised. But you don't do that with a 3-year-old. They get into a lot of trouble. And when Audrey's mother, Linda, and her 12-year-old son, Matthew, realized that they probably shouldn't have left a 3-year-old outside by herself, they went outside to then bring her in. However, unfortunately, as most unattended 3-year-olds do, she had just left the driveway and decided to go for a swim in the family's backyard pool, which was only a problem because Audrey had no idea how to swim. She was more so kind of taking a bath, or she fell in. That's probably it. Matthew found Audrey floating face down in the pool and jumped in after her. She was rushed to the hospital and spent the next 3 weeks in a coma. By the time she regained consciousness, doctors concluded that she was practically brain dead and recommended that she just be institutionalized for the rest of her life. Linda, her mother, however, disagreed and brought Audrey home. So the Massachusetts Commission for the Blind of all, maybe she ended up being blinded too. I don't know. But the Commission for the Blind supplied the Santos family with a team of nurses to provide around-the-clock care, which involved ventilators and feeding tubes. Like, this kid is functionally a vegetable. Audrey's father, Steve, decided he couldn't take any of this anymore, and he just abandons the family, which that tracks for Massachusetts. Linda, however, leaned heavily, and I mean like really, really heavily, on her Catholic faith and adamantly believed that Audrey would recover. So a year after Audrey was sent home from the hospital, or just taken home, Linda decided to take the family to Medjugorje. There's like a weird accent on the D, and I don't know what this means. Medjugorje, a small town in Yugoslavia. When that was a place that still existed. It's something different now. Anyway, Medjugorje had become a popular pilgrimage site for Catholics in the recent years after 6 children had claimed to witness the Blessed Virgin Mary standing on Podbrdo Hill with a baby in her arms. Because, that happens. One girl, 16-year-old Vika Ivankovic, claimed that she was told 9 secrets and given a prayer mission to pray for the sick. So this story gets out. All right, these kids in Yugoslavia, they see Virgin Mary up on this hill holding a baby, probably baby Jesus, because that's the baby that the Virgin Mary holds. And this one girl was told 9 secrets. What were the secrets? Probably nothing. This girl also ended up claiming to see this apparition on a daily basis, who then recited a biography of Mary's life that Vika would publish when Mary gave her final permission to do so. So now we're just changing stories, because now the apparition is not the Blessed Virgin Mary, but just like a representative who then recited a biography of Mary. So anyway, none of this makes sense. Although the Vatican never confirmed the authenticity of these apparitions and made them like an official Catholic thingamajig that they have or whatever, I don't know their system. Linda took Audrey to this site anyway, believing that Audrey would end up being healed, even going so far as to bringing a pair of shoes with her so Audrey could walk on her own once the miracle had happened. So, like, she's fully invested in this. And I mean, look, when there's no hope anywhere else, you gotta put your optimism in something. So she's taking her vegetable baby all the way to Yugoslavia, who can't walk, can't do anything on her own. And Linda's like, you know what? This is going to work. And when it does, Audrey's going to have her own pair of shoes. She's going to walk out of Yugoslavia on her own. I don't know what accent that is. It's not anything I've ever heard before. Anyway, so much to Linda's delight, they actually did apparently witness this apparition. And this apparition spoke directly to Audrey and even got Audrey to nod her head yes, which that kid has never moved since the accident. This is a miracle. However, rather than make a full recovery, according to Linda, Audrey agreed to become a victim soul, which meant that she would willingly suffer for others. And in the entire history of the Catholic Church, the only other victim soul was Jesus. So, I don't know. Also, allegedly, almost immediately after this encounter with the apparition, when Audrey nodded her head yes and agreed to become a victim soul like Jesus, Audrey went into cardiac arrest. Probably because she'd been taken off all of her tubes and her ventilators and was having a hard time existing in the world. She was evacuated back to the United States, where she did ultimately survive. She made, as much of a recovery as she could. But Linda believed that this cardiac arrest attack occurred because the site where they witnessed this apparition was close to the largest abortion clinic in Yugoslavia, which... This woman now I can't defend this woman. At first I was like, honey, bless your heart. I feel sorry for you. But now it's like, yes, we witnessed the apparition. And then Lil Audrey, she went into cardiac arrest because did you know that 13 miles away is the largest abortion clinic in Yugoslavia? And we were so close to it. And I think just her being a victim soul, she felt all the souls and the sufferings of them little aborted babies. And she just her little heart couldn't handle it. Yeah, maybe. After Audrey had been returned to her bedroom, still extremely brain dead, by the way, Linda and the rest of the family began noticing strange things happening around the house. The apparitions of the Virgin Mary began appearing in the clouds. Oil apparently seeped down the walls of their garage. Blood appeared on consecrated communion wafers. Sure. And the family statue of Jesus in the house began bleeding. All of these things, according to Catholic doctrine, are considered miracles and are in no way alarming at all. Audrey's family and friends also noticed that they had been miraculously healed of various various ailments. I don't know. Maybe they just had a normally working thyroid now, which, God, what a life that would be. Maybe they all of a sudden enjoyed the taste of clam chowder and didn't have a shellfish allergy anymore. I don't know. Regardless, word about all of these miracles, alleged miracles that no one has any documented proof of, quickly spread throughout Wooster. And soon hundreds of people were visiting the Santos house to pray at Audrey's bedside so that maybe they too might be healed of their dumb accents. I don't know. Sometimes Linda would take Audrey to a nearby football field or a large auditorium for public mass where larger numbers of people could come and witness Audrey in the flesh, laying there doing nothing. I mean, performing miracles. And despite allegedly healing hundreds of people, Audrey didn't do anything more than that. She never recovered and died on April 14th, 2007 of cardiorespiratory failure. Sad story, I know, but anyway, our final story here is one you may have heard of, or, kind of at least briefly heard about in the news. Following service in the Vietnam War, in which he was awarded the Silver Star for flying 328 combat missions in the span of 365 days. That's a lot. Forest Fenn was discharged and moved to Santa Fe, New Mexico. Once he was settled in, he opened the Aerosmith Fenn Gallery with his wife Peggy and his business partner Rex Aerosmith to sell various Native American artifacts, paintings, sculptures, and other art, which is kind of what you do in New Mexico, I'm guessing. Well, in 1988, Fenn was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and rather than give up on life and be miserable, he stuffed a 12th century bronze chest full of his gallery's most valuable artifacts, including gold nuggets, rare coins, gemstones, a bunch of other random stuff, and hid it in an undisclosed location somewhere in the Rocky Mountains. Fortunately, Fenn's cancer wasn't actually terminal, and he ended up making a full recovery. He beat cancer. Hallelujah. Anyway, in 2010, he published his memoir, The Thrill of the Chase, a memoir, which I don't know why. Here's the thing. I've written some memoirs, guys. I don't know why, you don't have to put a memoir in the title. You can figure it out pretty easily. Anyway, that's just me being on my high horse. But this memoir contained a poem outlining 9 different clues as to where he had hidden this treasure chest. The poem quickly gained traction online, sending explorers out into the mountains to find the chest, which was valued at over $2 million. However, after nearly 10 years, no one had found this treasure, but at least 5 people died while looking for it. Randy Bilyeu was found on the banks of the Rio Grande. It's Rio Grande, but I always want to go Rio Grande. But it's Rio Grande River in July 2016 after disappearing for 6 months in search of the treasure. His widow criticized Fenn, saying that the treasure was a hoax, and Fenn was like, no, it's not. It's out there. Jeff Murphy was killed in Yellowstone National Park in June 2017 after he fell 500 feet down a slope in search of the treasure. Paris Wallace, a pastor from Grand Junction, Colorado, drowned in the Rio Grande a week later. Eric Ashby drowned in the Arkansas River the following month after moving to Colorado for the sole purpose of finding the treasure. And then Michael Wayne Sexton, who had previously been rescued a month earlier during a failed search, died in March of 2020 looking for this treasure. And when people weren't out in the Rocky Mountains dying while looking for this treasure, they were getting into legal trouble around this treasure. At least 4 people were cited for illegally digging on national park property. One man was arrested after breaking into Fenn's property and stealing a Spanish-style chest that he believed was the actual treasure. Fenn actually caught this dude in the middle of the burglary and held him at gunpoint until police arrived. At what point does Fenn just be like, God, this is probably a lot more trouble than it's worth? But whatever, he kept going. Finally, on June 6th, 2020, Fenn announced that someone had finally found the treasure in Wyoming, and it was in the exact spot that he had placed it 10 years before. Although the person who found it asked to remain anonymous, Fenn did confirm that the treasure had indeed been found, and then he subsequently died 3 months later at age 90. Now, 6 months after the treasure was found in December of 2020, Jack Stoiff, a medical student from Michigan, revealed himself as the finder only because he was about to face a lawsuit from Barbara Anderson, a lawyer in Chicago, who was claiming that Stoiff had hacked her emails that contained her progress on her own search of the treasure, which is just like the links that people will go to. Another guy filed a lawsuit claiming that he had originally found the treasure and even took it to Forest Fenn, who told Fenn where the location was. And he alleged that Fenn went out and just moved it to a different location and claimed that the dude hadn't found it all. It's just so dumb. In December 2022, Stoiff auctioned off several of the items from the chest, including various coins, gold nuggets, gold dust, a copper frog pendant from South America, and a necklace from Colombia dating as far back as 1000 BC. So there was some legit treasure in here. In total, the auction netted $1.3 million. There you go. Weird fun bag number 10 in the books. You still got a full episode out of it. All right. Sure. Did I spend the first third ranting about my own personal problems? Yes. But guess what? It's my show. I can do whatever I want. So that being said, let's recap and see what we learned today.
What did we learn?
Number 1, Alabama has a public health award named in honor of a prostitute. And it's just, I enjoy the irony in that, because prostitutes, here's the thing though, professional prostitutes, they are probably some of the most hygienic people on the planet because they know the risks that come with being a prostitute. But it's just funny that there's a public health award. Anyway, you get it. Number 2, Audrey Santos Was she actually a miracle? Was she a real victim soul? Was she just a vegetable because her parents left her unattended and couldn't come to grips with the consequences of being bad parents? That's probably it. Number 3, Forest Fenn put actual treasure in an actual treasure chest, hid it out in the middle of Wyoming somewhere, and it took people over a decade to find it. And then they finally did. And a lot of people died because of it. And it was a fun story. There's a fun story that came out from the pandemic. Next week on Our Weird World, we're getting scientific with people who were bad at science. We are covering the stories of David Hahn, Thomas Jagger, and a group of people who ruined the entire town of Times Beach, Missouri. So kind of scary, kind of dumb, but always fun next week. So thank you all for listening. Keep telling all your friends about the show so I can get out of my medical debt and keep it weird.